Hello, you're very welcome to this session on Zero Trust with me, Rob Byrne, a field strategist at One Identity. This session, we're going to be focused on the interplay between privileged access management and identity governance and administration. So we're asking the question, what are the value add use cases we can achieve? What are the additional levels of security we can achieve? How much closer to zero trust can we get by combining those two rich platforms? So let's take a look and see what we can do. So you are aware that One Identity is a vendor of security software and services focused on the identity. So as part of that, we provide a privileged access management platform, identity governance administration, and also solutions to help you secure your core directories that goes with that. Now, we've covered the individual components of our portfolio in different sessions. And in this one, as I say, we're going to focus on the interaction between privileged access management and identity governance. So let's look at the use cases to keep this real. So just-in-time activation of privileged accounts and entitlements. So when we need those privileged accounts, and only when we need them, that's the moment we will activate them, decorate them with their permissions, and make them available. And of course, we'll remove that when it's no longer needed, which is part of a zero trust approach. In terms of visibility of privileged activity, let's surface any kind of activity around privilege that is of particular interest. So when we combine a PAM system like One Identity Safeguard and a governance administration platform like One Identity Manager, when we combine those two systems, we can gain another perspective onto privileged activity. So we can combine the privileged activity with enterprise level, for example, in this case, identity lifecycle information, in order to focus and drill in on the privileged activity that is most of interest. So in this case, the example I'm using is a lever of the privileged sessions that are going to take place, for example, over the next 4 weeks. Which are the ones I should pay particular attention to? And one example would be to say, hey, if anybody's leaving the company at the end of the month, then we should definitely pay particular attention to those, or certainly prioritize those in terms of the sessions we're going to keep an eye on, or potentially, after the fact, focus on from a forensic point of view if unfortunately something did go amiss. In terms, again, in the theme of visibility and surfacing anomalies, privileged access management systems do a great job of surfacing an anomalous behavior. Like One Identity Safeguard has a behavior analytics module that will alert you around anomalous time of day activity, strange commands or systems being accessed, but also biometric information like keyboard usage or mouse usage that is not normal for that person. Now, how can we combine that with the identity governance administration platform? Well, by sending information about anomalous activity from the PAM system into the IGA platform, we can inform all those collaborators that are using the IGA platform to make security and access decisions. So security officers, people involved in risk, compliance officers, any kind of business owners, line managers, department managers, application owners, business role owners, entitlement owners. These are all persona that come together to collaborate on access decisions in the IGA platform, and informing those of anomalous privileged activity so that they can make pertinent, timely, and relevant decisions to keep your business safe is really important. The last use case concerns the ongoing governance of the privileged access management environment or system. Whilst the first three concern real-time events, this one is really focused on the ongoing governance. So the principle here is, if I put all my privileged eggs in one basket, then I should keep a particular eye on that basket, right? Keep it specially safe, recertify the access, who's got the right to log in and get access, all those privileged accounts across the system. Are they still there? Do they still need to be maintained? Could I potentially get rid of them? All the time trying to keep the access that's distributed across my environment to an absolute minimum. Right, so there are 4 examples of use cases we can achieve when we combine privileged access management and identity governance systems. So in the interest of keeping it real, let's go and have a look at a real system here. So we've got an environment. Let's do a refresh here just to make sure we've got the latest. So the privileged account we're interested in, we're going to start the story here with this privileged account. It's disabled, as you can see, a little black dot there, and it's also not got any privileged entitlements. So how are we going to elevate this? Well, we'll go to one identity safeguard client that's going to allow me, I'm going to log in as the leaver person here, and that person is going to log into the system and then make a request for access. So we're going to make a request to get access to this domain controller through that privileged account that we saw earlier. So let's fill in our parameters and lodge that request. Now the system will process the request and it will begin to activate and decorate the account as appropriate. We'll be able to use it. Now, in terms of the notifications we discussed, this is a lever. So let's raise this immediately to the IGA platform as a point of interest for the relevant parties. Now, relevant party in our case is this user here, Rudy, who's actually interested in violations in the environments. And we'll also log Rudy into the identity governance platform, where he's going to be able to pick up any events as well that he's going to be able to see and to process. Now, if we go back and have a look at the account itself, let's just check that it's been appropriately activated. So it's been enabled, and it's also been decorated with the permissions it needs: domain admins, e-auction privileged, group membership, you know, whatever permissions it needs, it now has. Now, in the system, we can see that Rudy's been notified of some kind of policy violation. What is the policy violation? It's a privileged access leaver activity policy, and it's indicating that a person with approaching leaving date has engaged in privileged activity. That's good, but Rudy might ask himself, well, what do you want me to do about it? Well, here's the additional information for him. Indicates that a person with approaching leaving date has engaged in privileged activity. It's not necessarily an issue, okay, but deserves attention. In particular, prioritize his privileged sessions for review. That's pretty clear. So it's not something that requires immediate attention, but it's something that when I do come to do privileged session reviews, then this should be among the ones that I should prioritize. Equally, when Rudy logs into the web interface, of course, as he will do by clicking on the link in the email there, then he'll see amongst the policy violations that he has to deal with, he will see the privileged leaver activity. Now, he can remove that as a notification from the system straight away if he wants, or he can signal that he's really not happy, which will then go on and set off other processing to cope with that as needed, potential mitigation or remediation activity. So so we've seen two things here. If we've seen the just-in-time activation of the account with the decoration of the account with its entitlements, and we've seen the raising of this event by notification by email and into the IGA platform. So let's go back to the safeguard environment, and let's log in as an administrator. And in this case, what we're going to do is we're going to manually provoke an anomalous privileged event by terminating in an anomalous fashion the session that this leaver user has opened. So if I log in as an administrator, I'm going to terminate this. I'm going to revoke this request here manually, perhaps at the request of Rudy, who's not happy with the situation. I should also say here that the session could have been terminated automatically by the user behavior analytics module in One Identity Safeguard. It could have been terminated because I tried to run a blacklisted command, right, which we can also configure as a response termination of the session. Okay. Now again, I have revoked the session. So what's going to happen is the system will deactivate the account. It's going to strip it of its entitlements because it's been terminated, and it's going to return to that state. And we're also then going to see an additional notification here to Rudy. This time, it's a notification indicating that usage of the privilege violated a policy and was terminated by an administrator or automated decision process. And what should I do about this? I should investigate the root cause of this anomaly. So this, unlike the other event, really does require my attention. Rudy, being the responsible person, should go and take a look at that. Also, notice that this is not an identity level violation. It's rather an account level violation. That's to say, the violation is taking place around usage of this account. It's been revoked. Something anomalous happened. And of course, we are linking that, thanks to the IGA platform, to the identity in this case, which is the whole point of having an identity-centric approach to security. Again, if we go back to the IGA platform itself, just do a refresh here, then that's our privileged leaver activity. But the new session here, the new warning here, policy violation, concerns the account here, because the session has been revoked, right? So this is a privilege access exception. And again, this, as is indicated, needs quite prompt attention, because any anomalous event around privilege deserves to be treated in a timely fashion. Now, if we go back to the actual privileged account system itself and do a refresh, you can see that in response to that event, we have deactivated the account straight away. And if we go in there, we'll also see that it's been stripped of its entitlements. So there's a set of real-time events with some value-add security, thanks to the fact that we've surfaced that into the IGA platform. In terms of the ongoing governance of the platform, which was use case number 4, we actually log in here as an administrator who's got responsible for the PAM system itself, or a system owner who's responsible for maintaining privilege across the system. Then we can see here actually a very nice privileged account governance view onto this appliance, which is the privileged access management appliance, where all these passwords and sessions and so on are managed. And what's interesting about this for One Identity customers is that this PAG module is pre-integrated with Identity Manager. And we provide not just that integration and the ability to see that access, but also a very rich view onto it. Now, you will find that certain vendors can manage or govern privileged systems, perhaps through the lens or through the medium of a SCIM, rather generic connector. And that's better than nothing, but it will never have the rich level of information that we can get when we integrate Identity Manager with One Identity Safeguard, because we go that level deeper, because obviously those two systems are integrated by us as standard. Now, in terms of the attestations and the ongoing security recertification, we can see again, these are all standard recertification attestations, we call them, of the PAM system. If I just drill into one of the accounts here, it's a Linux administrator account in this case. And so here, this person, Fred, who has a responsibility for this entitlement, is being asked to attest that this requester identity on the Linux server system should continue to have access to that account. Now there's three-way relationship going on here between an identity, a system, and a privileged account. And of course, as always in a recertification, the user, Fred here, can say, yes, that's fine, or you can say, no, it's not fine, in which case the access will be, the ability for a requester to get access to that Linux system will be withdrawn immediately. And of course, again, standard set of attestations, standard set of attestation reports that are going to help me to keep that privileged access management system in good shape. There's one last case I would like to call out, which is the idea of application level governance. So One Identity Manager as a governance platform also has the notion of application governance, or will do in version 8.2. And for these applications, an application owner presented with a view of his application as a first-class citizen in this identity access management landscape can drill in, see which entitlements from various systems are part of his application, are important for the functioning of his application, the authentication system, perhaps badge access if it's one of those high privileged applications you can only use from certain points in the organization, other perhaps Active Directory access that's required for authentication to IDPs and so on. And here is any violations concerning his application, right? So if any privileged activity violations like we saw earlier pop up, then and they're related to this application, they'll be exposed here for the application owner. Okay, so let's take the time to do a quick recap. In many ways, the defining problem for security in our generation is the ability to pull together security events from disparate distributed systems and to bring them together in a coherent way and to respond to them in a timely fashion by the appropriate people. And hey presto, that's exactly what we've done in this demonstration. We've channeled critical privilege events to the identity governance platform for appropriate treatment in a timely and secure and a fashion that is consistent with our policy by the appropriate business owners. And we're providing ongoing governance and security for the privileged access management system in terms of surveying that from the governance platform. So that's pretty powerful, and it basically takes us closer to an end-to-end holistic approach to security, and certainly gets us that one step closer to a true zero trust stance. So I hope you found that useful, and thanks so much for your attention.